It's over? It's over, right?
Positive collapse.
More, right? I mean, surely there weren't two companies.
Previous video. Welcome to a very special Halloween edition of Bootleg Shit. Now you're probably wondering, has there ever been a bootleg or unlicensed game based on something scary or spooky? Well, as a matter of fact, yes. And the perfect game to make a bootleg out of was none other than the original Resident Evil, also known as Biohazard in Japan. Now, why would I mention the Japanese name if pretty much all of us know about it? Well, because that's what the bootleg version is called. Yes, people, they actually made a bootleg Famicom version of Resident Evil. Now, of course, the original Resident Evil was a classic, as well as all the early sequels. And unlike the more recent games, which are more linear, pre-4 Resident Evil games were true survival horror. You had to learn how to control your character, you had a limited supply of ammo and ink ribbons, you had to solve various puzzles, and you had to figure out where to go and how to escape. The old Resident Evil games were not just about killing zombies and monsters and whatnot. The original games were about survival. And not only did the original Resident Evil get a remake twice, it also got a demake. An unofficial demake, but a demake nonetheless. So did the bootleggers did a good job with this demake? Or is it another crappy bootleg? Well,
there's only one way to find out.
So before you start the game, you get the whole story, of course. And sadly, yes, most of the text is in Chinese. But if you played the original Resident Evil, you should know the whole story by now. Though I'm not entirely sure if this is based on the original 1996 release or the director's cut. I didn't get too far in this game, and you'll know why later. By the way, you want to know who made this game?
He should have been a sandwich.
That's right, folks. The same exact people who made that shitty Pokemon Red bootleg. Well, there goes nothing. Oh, and one more thing. The ROM version causes a lot of freezing and crashing, so you're gonna see a lot of cuts of the gameplay version of this episode.
Yes.
So you start off as Jill Valentine along with Barry Burton and Albert Wesker at the mansion's main lobby. Then, you follow Barry to the room with the clock, and from here on out, you control the rest of the game, just like in the original. Unfortunately though, you can't play as Chris Redfield in this, most likely due to limitations. For the most part, this isn't a bad demake. It's actually pretty faithful to the original Resident Evil. At the start of the game, I was able to figure out most of the puzzles and got all the keys and items I needed for later on in the game. However, there were also moments that were very frustrating and confusing, and I will explain why. For one thing, the colors in almost every room look exactly the same. It's all gray with some yellow and brown areas, and there's little to no difference in each room. Many times I got really confused. In fact, it almost felt like a maze. Thank God I played the original Resident Evil years ago, because if this was new to me, I would be completely lost. Let me give you a good example. You see this room with the green squiggly lines that look like electricity? Well, rest assured, this is not an electric room. When I first got in here, I had no clue what to do. That wasn't until I inserted the chemical bag into the little gray box that I discovered that this was the room with the plant and the water fountain, and the gray box is the generator. Now let me ask you a question. If you never played the original Resident Evil and saw this, would you honestly know that this was the plant room?